Welcome. I, I'm just so excited you're here. One of my all-time favorite directors, and the fact that you're here, I'm jumping out of my skin. Thank you so much.
제가 감사합니다. 불러주셔가지고. 예.
Thank you for bringing me here.
And the place and the theater is so beautiful. I never imagined this kind of great theater exists in this world.
Wow.
Yeah, it's watching the film and go outside. You can see the Pacific Ocean. It's quite special, I think. Yeah. For me.
Well, thank you. I want to start right off the bat that the art direction in this film is spectacular. The set, the two worlds, you create the road between the two worlds. There's a winding set of stairs that connect it. Can you tell us about building that world?
뭐 영화의 90% 이상이 두 집에서 벌어지니까요. 저랑 프로덕션 디자이너한테는 되게 큰 즐거운 도전이었죠. 예.
Because 90% of the film happens basically in those two houses, it was a very fun challenge for me and the production designer.
그래서 부잣집 처음 이제 시나리오를 쓸 때부터 부잣집의 구조에 대한 뭐 기본적인 아이디어가 제가 있었고요. 인물들의 동선 같은 게 중요해서 그 디자인을 많이 요구를 했었죠. 이렇게 해달라고 미술 감독님한테.
So even from the script writing stage, I already had the basic idea for the structure of these houses, particularly the rich house, because the blocking was very important. So I had many requests to the production designer.
And poor house is relatively the structure is simple, but we built the neighborhood in the water tank. That not only the house but also the whole poor neighborhood is all the built set in the swimming pool. So we shoot every sequence, and then the very last day we 들어온 물을 거기다 부어서 들어온 물이 아니지 흙탕물을 부어서 이제 찍은 거죠.
We poured mud water into the set for the flood sequences.
근데 뭐 보기에는 되게 더러운 물처럼 보이지만 배우들을 위해서 되게 깨끗한 물을 머드팩 재료를 써서 했어요.
But the water looks dirty. But for the sake of the actors, we actually added like a facial mud mask into the water to give it that color.
It is very clean and safe. And
But the actual idea of the separation between the two worlds with the stairs, that was an important visual.
Yeah, it was very, very important. In that sequence, the movie suddenly changed to some kind of the road movie. Yeah, 비 오는 로드 무비처럼 찍고 싶었죠. 부잣집에서 가난한 동네까지 그 인물들이 그 공간을 하나로 이어주는 건데, 그게 점점 이제 수직적으로 위에서 아래로 하강하는 느낌으로 찍고 싶었어요.
So I wanted that sequence to feel like a road movie in the rain. As the characters move from the rich house to the poor house, they descend vertically further below, and I wanted the spaces to sort of connect seamlessly.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but listen to him speak. That's all I need. I don't even need the translation. You returned to your home country after Okja and Snowpiercer to make this movie set in Korea, and it's focused on a particular setting. Yet I feel is one of your most ambitious films.
그러니까 뭐 스노우피어서나 옥자에 비해서 뭐 예산도 작고 영화도 뭐 장소 두 개에서 이렇게 뭔가 더 집중된 영화지만은 맞습니다. 주제적인 스토리적인 욕심은 더 있었죠. 말씀하신 게 맞는 것 같아요.
So compared to Snowpiercer and Okja, Parasite had a much smaller budget, and the film is very focused on these two spaces. But in terms of the themes and story, I was more ambitious with this film.
그 어렸을 때 돋보기 가지고 이렇게 햇빛을 모아서 이렇게 종이를 태우면 연기가 나면서 타잖아요. 그때 작은 초점이 모이면서 그때 그 종이가 탈 때 어떤 쾌감 같은 그런 좀 집중력을 만들어 보고 싶었어요.
So when we were little, we would use magnifying glasses to burn very small dots onto the paper, and you would always see the smoke coming from the paper from this tiny dot focused from the sunlight. And I really wanted to portray that sort of excitement and joy that comes from that tiny dot burning.
And there is no characterizing the movie. Our expectations are constantly being challenged in this. Was that something that was intentional for you?
뭐 여기서 예상을 깨트려야지 아니면 뭐 관객들을 놀래킬 거야. 뭐 이런 식으로 매 순간 시나리오를 쓰지는 않는데 이게 좀 제가 성격이 이상해서 그런 것 같아요.
So it's not as if I write my script thinking about how I can surprise the audience or break their expectations. I think it just happens because I have a weird personality.
이게 아니 진짜 그렇고 진심이고요. 예.
I really mean it.
또 인물들 탓인 것 같기도 해요. 인물들이 보면은 부잣집 사람들도 이렇게 전형적인 그런 뭐 예를 들어 탐욕스러운 부자들로 묘사되지는 않잖아요. 그러니까 사실 정확한 악당은 없어요, 영화에. 그러니까 진짜 악당은 없는데 또 끝에 가면 되게 무서운 일이 터지잖아요. 그럼 그 이유가 뭘까? 그게 사실 되게 슬픈 부분인데 이렇게 누가 착하고 누가 악당인지 그게 모호하기 때문에 또 그 뒤를 예측하기가 어렵지 않을까 이런 생각도 해봤어요.
I think in large part it's due to the characters. In this film with the rich family, you don't really see them as the conventional greedy, malicious villains you often see on screen. There are really no villains in this film, but even then the film ends with this huge disaster. And I think we can ask the question of why. Why does a film end that way without these villains? And I think that's the sad part of this film. And because the characters, it's very ambiguous to tell who's nice and who's the bad guy, who's the good guy. I think that's why the film is more unpredictable.
But this idea of two groups of people that are living together, and the cracks in between them are invisible, but you actually make them visible in this movie. Was that something that you were conscious of doing?
심지어 부자 아버지가 계속 얘기하잖아요. 라인을 넘지 말라고, 크로스 더 라인 하지 말라고. 그래서 보이지 않는 라인 스스로가 설정하는 게 있는 거죠. 네.
So in the film, you see Mr. Park constantly talking about not crossing a line. So he's basically drawing an invisible line for himself.
만약에 지하실에 있었던 세 번째 가족, 사실은 이게 홍보는 두 가족인 것처럼 리치 푸어 두 가족인 것처럼 홍보하지만 사실은 세 가족 이야기잖아요. 이게 물론 스포일링이긴 하지만 그래서 이 지하실에 세 번째 가족이 없었더라면 아마 그 선이 지켜졌을지도 모를 것 같아요. 네.
So in the marketing process, we always describe this film as a story about two families, but actually there's a third family in the basement. And I think maybe if the film didn't have that third family, they might have been able to keep that line.
I just want to point out, this is what cinema is all about. The fact that you're speaking in a foreign language and we're totally communicating and understanding. I'm emotional just having you here and listening to you. This is like probably the highlight of Cinema Society. Thank you. Thank you.
일요일 아침에 이렇게 많은 분들이 와서 영화 약간 무서운 영화인데 이렇게 봐주셔서 사실 너무 저도 감동적이에요. 이렇게 일요일 아침에 영화 보시는 분들이 진정한 시네필이 아닌가 생각이 듭니다.
I'm very moved that all you guys came on this Sunday morning to watch this quite scary film. I think people who watch movies on Sunday mornings are the true cinephiles.
But what is remarkable about what you've done, Bong, is that it's not just scary. There is plenty of humor, there's plenty of satire, there's plenty of suspense, and at the same time, social commentary. Was that something that you were conscious that, combining all these different feels and experiences?
저는 사실 저 자신이 장르 영화 감독이라고 생각을 늘 하고요. 짧게 하죠.
I always consider myself as a genre filmmaker.
영화를
actually.
볼 때 영화 자체의 아름다움이나 뭐 장르적인 흥분 이런 걸 되게 좋아하고요. 항상 저도 그런 영화들을 보면서 자랐던 것 같고요.
When I create films, I always like to focus on the beauty of cinema itself, the excitement that comes from genre. Those are the films that I grew up watching.
그냥 이렇게 눈앞에 정치적인 무슨 깃발을 들고 막 휘두르는 그런 영화들은 싫어하는데 대신 영화적인 아름다움이나 흥분을 이제 2시간 동안 즐기고 집에 돌아갔는데 이제 자려고 침대에 누웠는데 자꾸 뭔가가 이렇게 생각이 나는 한 번 더 생각해 보게 되는 그리고 그것이 인간에 관한 이야기 뭐 그런 쪽으로 점점 머릿속이 뱅뱅뱅 잠이 잘 안 오게 되는 그날 밤에 그런 영화를 만들고 싶은 것 같아요.
So I don't really like films that wave that political flag right in front of your face. I would rather the audience enjoy the beauty of the film and the excitement that comes from the genre elements and go home after the film, lie in bed to go to sleep, and you end up constantly thinking about the film and thinking about the human condition that this film presents. And the films that I want to create are the ones that just stays with you, stops you from going to bed because you're so wrapped up in thinking about the remnants of the film.
I heard you do an interview where you were describing the characters in your film as a comedy without clowns, a tragedy without villains, and I want you. I'm curious about the fact that you don't pass judgment on any, the Kim family or the Park family, and how difficult was it to balance that?
Yeah, actually, every character in the movie, how can I say, they all remains in some kind of gray zone, but. 근데 상황에 따라 또 이 사람이 좀 나빠 보이기도 하고 비열해 보이기도 하고 또 어떨 때면 불쌍해 보이기도 하고 또 막 뒤섞여 있죠 상황에 따라서.
So depending on the situation, the characters feel malicious, they seem greedy, and sometimes you even pity them.
그러니까 그 상황에 따라 인간이, 그러니까 이 영화에 나온 인물들이 사실 범죄랑은 다 상관이 없는 인물들이잖아요. 뭐 갱스터인 것도 아니고 전과자도 아니고 그런데 이런 약간 무시무시한 사건까지 가는 걸 보면은 참 그게 인간의 어떤 인간사의 어떤 슬픔이나 그 공포인 것 같기도 해요. 네.
So in this film, all the characters are very far from violence. They're not gangsters, they're not criminals, but the narrative sort of ends with that disaster in the end, and I think that's the sadness and fear of being human, that things can get there even without villains.
Can you tell us about how difficult was it to cast the film? You have one of the greatest actors, Song Kang-ho, who you've worked with before, but then creating this soccer team of actors, how challenging was it?
뭐 송강호 씨로부터 이제 송강호 씨 같은 경우는 이미 생각하고 이제 스크린라이팅을 한 거고요. 아들도 마찬가지고요. 같이 일해봤던 배우분들. 근데 이제 나머지 배우분들은 저랑 처음 하는 분들도 많았는데, 예. 뭐 기본적으로 말씀하신 것 중에 앙상블 캐스팅 영화다. 예. 10명의 인물들이 다 중요하다. 그 꼬마애까지 그런 생각으로 일단 접근을 했고요. 예.
So in regards to Song Kang-ho, I already wrote the script with him in mind, and that was the case for the Kim son as well. They were actors that I worked with before, but the rest, it was my first time working with them. But from the very beginning, I prioritized that this is an ensemble piece and that all 10 characters are very important, including the little boy.
그 송강호 같은 경우는 특히 저한테 의미가 큽니다. 그 시나리오 쓸 때 이 캐릭터를 또 뭐 이 다이얼로그를 이제 이 배우가 한다라고 미리 생각하면서 쓰다 보니까 제가 더 마음이 편해지고 과감해져요. 그러니까 뭔가 좀 독특하고 더 챌린징한 그런 씬을 써도 이 사람이라면 관객들을 설득할 수 있을 거야라고 저의 어떤 운신의 폭이 넓어지죠. 예.
So song in particular is very meaningful to me because when I write this character and write dialogue knowing that he will say them and play it, I feel more comfortable. I can become bolder with my script. And so even when I'm writing unique, strange, and challenging scenes with him in mind, I know that he'll be able to convince the audience.
And tell us about working with the scoring, Jung Jae-il. It's an operatic score. Recalls Bernard Herrmann, Hitchcock, but it goes against the grain. There are moments where the movie becomes suspenseful, and then you have this operatic scoring. Can you tell us about that choice?
이게 모르겠어요. 그 컴포저, 그러니까 작곡가한테 그 바로크 음악이랑 그 버나드 허만 스코어 같은 거를 많이 추천해 줬어요. 뭐 어떤 그 영감을 좀 받아보라고요. 네.
I did recommend Baroque music and Bernard Herrmann to the composer for inspiration.
그 이 가난한 가족들이 이제 부잣집에 들어가서 뭐 이렇게 되게 점잖은 척을 하잖아요. 그러니까 물론 저도 바로크 음악의 아름다움을 늘 좋아하긴 하지만 왠지 이 가난한 주인공들이 부잣집에 가서 이렇게 점잖은 척, 우아한 척하는 그 느낌하고 바로크 음악이 되게 잘 만든다는 생각이 좀 들었었고요. 네.
So when the poor family enters the rich house, they pretend to be all elegant and sophisticated. And of course, I appreciate the beauty of Baroque music, but I felt that it really suited that sort of pretension that this poor family was putting on.
And I watched the Alfred Hitchcock Psycho when I was 8 years old, in maybe some censored version from Korean TV broadcast station, and I was overwhelmed by it, and also the music there. So always so inspirational. So maybe the house, in the rich house, is much richer than Norman Bates, the house, not Bates Motel, but the house behind the motel. That house also has a basement, which has a big secret, and also great second floor. That amazing, beautiful shot of the Martin Balsams, stare and camera track back, and
they stab him and he goes down the stairs.
Was eye view, and 그러니까 막 그런 게 어떤 좋은 의미의 어떤 트라우마에서 머릿속에 각인돼 있어서 그런 지배 구조와 어떤 그런 음악들을 막 저도 믹스해 보고 싶은 그런 욕망들이 좀 있었죠.
So in a good way, that scene was very traumatic and ingrained in my mind. So I always had this desire to mix the structure of the house and the music from that film.
And what's amazing about somebody like you is that you're so aware of movie history, as you have been telling us, but at the same time you don't become derivative. Is that something that you're conscious of? The fact that
네, 그 영화의 역사들이라든가 장르의 컨벤션 이런 것들을 되게 사랑하는데 또 동시에 저는 한국 감독이고 한국에 저를 둘러싼 어떤 현실들이 있어요. 제가 일상에서 관찰하는 것들이 있고 제가 장르의 컨벤션을 깨트리거나 어기거나 다른 길로 갈 때 그런 한국적인 공기나 현실 같은 게 쑥 들어오죠. 그렇게 되면서 영화의 분위기가 아주 기묘해진달까요? 네.
So I'm someone who loves film history and genre conventions, but at the same time, as a Korean director, I'm very sensitive to the reality of Korea, and I always observe what happens in my daily life set in Korea. So whenever I try to break or steer away from genre conventions, I think I always reflect the air and the atmosphere that's specifically Korean and bring that to my films, which creates that sort of strange and unique nuance to my film.
Speaking of Korean traditions, there is a children's song that is used for memorizing in the film. Can you tell us about including that aspect in the film?
그게 그 칸느 영화제 상영할 때 그 모멘트에서 여러 나라 관객들이 동시에 웃더라고요. 그래서 아니 나라마다 저런 노래가 하나 다 있나 보다. 그 메모라이징 용으로 쓰이는 그런 생각을 했었는데.
So when I screened the film at Cannes, a lot of people in the audience from various countries laughed at that scene at the same time. So I thought that maybe every country has a song like that where they use the melody to memorize things.
한국 학교에서도 많이 쓰는 노래예요. 이제 뭐 복잡한 거 여러 가지 외울 때 쓰는 노래인데. 예.
It's something that's used very often in Korean schools when students need to memorize complicated things.
There is a term, and for you cinephiles out there, there is a term that has been coined, bongtail. The fact that you mix, that there is a combination of your style and your detail. You weren't aware that it has been coined bongtail?
아니 뭐 한국에서 그렇게 많이 불리고 있는데 그걸 어떻게 아셨나 해서 지금 그래서 놀랐어요.
So that is a nickname that people call me by in Korea. I was just surprised how you know about it.
Well, because your cinema is so particular. There is this. What I've always thought about it is that bong, your name, and then detail, and there's so much. You take so much detail in filmmaking, and I've always thought when I watch your films, I think about bongtail.
Actually, I'm not control freak, but I control everything. 근데 이제 그 매 순간 그러면서 뭐 그 크루들을 괴롭히거나 그런 건 아니고요. 부분이 전체를 말할 때, 부분이 전체를 표현할 때가 가끔 있는 것 같아요. 그럴 때는 되게 작은 것에 집중하죠.
But that doesn't mean that, I harass my crew members at every second during production. It's just that when a small part of the film sort of reflects the entirety of it, that's when I really focus on the small things.
And one of my great co-worker artists, Eric Durst, the visual effect supervisor of Snowpiercer, he is here. So 저 사람한테 물어보세요. 가서 내가.
So you guys should ask him.
내가 막 자잘한 걸로 괴롭히는지 아닌지 저분한테 한번 물어보시면 될 거라고요.
Ask him on whether or not I harass my crew members on small details.
He's putting you on the spot.
Taken the point of view that you have, which means that he has thought of every angle, every position, every different consequence of every shot. So it feels like he has thought through every detail of every moment in the film. So when the reason, and I hope I'm making sense here.
You are.
So powerful as a director, I feel, is because, and he's so great to work with, is because any question you ask, or whether you have an idea or a thought, he treats it with great respect, and he does so because he's already thought about it himself.
Yeah.
Let's drink, Eric.
I need to ask you about the rain sequence, the big storm, and it's one of the most spectacular scenes this year in cinema or any year. Can you tell us about shooting and how difficult or challenging the whole sequence was?
그 감독들이 다 좀 정말 기억에 남는 빗신을 찍고 싶은 그런 욕망이 사실 있죠.
I think every director has this desire to shoot a really memorable rain sequence.
Something like the Seven Samurai by Akira Kurosawa, kind of something. Yeah. 그래서 저랑 그 DP가 이제 촬영 감독 욕심을 좀 많이 내긴 냈어요. 그래서 영화에서 이제 하나에 이어지는 그 길처럼 나오지만 사실은 한 샷 한 샷이 되게 서울 시내 아주 떨어져 있는 여러 곳의 로케이션을 이렇게 조합한 거고요.
So the DP and I were very ambitious with that sequence. In the film, it seems like a connected road, but actually every shot was shot in a different neighborhood across Seoul.
그리고 나머지 장소들은 대부분 부잣집 가난한 집 그냥 디자인된 세트니까 그 로케이션 스카우팅 하는데 엄청 시간과 에너지를 많이 들여가지고 좀 집중할 수 있었죠. 그런 또 상황도 됐었고요.
And because the other locations were set on the sets that we built, we were really able to focus location scouting on that sequence and spend our time and energy there.
그 샷 중에 유난히 더 이렇게 버티컬한 수직적인 계단이 하나 있어요. 그 서울의 한 구석 어떤 길에서 찾아낸 공간인데 그 로케이션 찾아냈을 땐 정말 기뻤어요. 여기서 뭔가 보여줄 수 있을 것 같다. 그래서 거기 주인공이 서서 이렇게 물이 폭포처럼 쏟아지는 걸 보는 장면이 있죠.
So among the shots, there's one in particular that features a very long and vertical staircase, and it's located in a small corner of Seoul. And I was very happy when we found that location. I felt that we could really encompass the film in that shot, particularly on the shot where the protagonist is standing there, and you basically see a waterfall falling through his feet.
물이란 게 항상 위에서 아래로 흐르잖아요. 그러니까 그 반대는 불가능하죠. 그러니까 부자에서 가난한 자를 향해서 물이 흐르는 거죠. 그 느낌을 꼭 찍고 싶었었어요.
So water always flows from top to bottom and never flows the other way around. So I really wanted to emphasize the sense that water pours from the rich to the poor.
Your film is a complex and honest allegory about economic polarization and inequality. It is very specific to Korea in your film. When you were making the film, were you thinking that you wanted to speak universally about the economic polarization and inequality in the world as well?
물론 뭐 한국은 엄청 많이 발전했죠. 지난 뭐 6.25 전쟁 이후에 몇십 년의 세월 동안 지금은 되게 뭐 그야말로 부자 나라가 된 셈인데 그렇지만 그 안에서 또 상대적인 격차는 큰 거죠. 근데 그건 한국만의 문제는 아니고 전 세계의 문제인 것 같아요. 그래서 그동안 뭐 칸느 이후에 뭐 시드니나 독일이라든가 뭐 여러 나라에서 상영했을 때 항상 비슷한 얘기들이 비슷한 리액션이 나왔던 것 같고요.
In the past decade since the Korean War, Korea has achieved incredible development and advancement. Now it's basically a wealthy country. But within that, the relative inequality and gap has widened ever more. And I think that's something that applies to not just Korea, but any country across the world. And so, we screened this film at Cannes, in Sydney, Germany, various places, but people seem to respond very similarly.
그래서 이제 제가 뭐 꼭 굳이 그거를 의식한 건 아니지만 자연스럽게 이렇게 유니버설한 영화가 되고 말았는데 왜 그럴까 생각해 보니까 이제 지금 뭐 국경과 상관없이 우리가 다 그냥 하나의 국가에 살고 있지 않나, 자본주의라는 국가에 그런 것이 아닐까라는 답을 스스로 한번 찾아봤어요.
So I never really intended for the story to be universal, but naturally it happened that way. And I really thought about why the responses are similar. And the conclusion that I came to is that regardless of borders, we all live in this one giant nation of capitalism.
So you won the top prize at Cannes, and it marks the 100th anniversary of Korean cinema. Can you tell us how that felt for you?
개인적으로도 영광이고 한국 영화 전체로도 영광이었죠. 근데 이제 그 심사위원 분들하고 이제 시상식 끝나고 가볍게 이제 뭐 그 이나리뚜 감독님 등등해서 뭐 이제 칵테일을 마시면서 얘기했었는데 이제 한국 영화 100주년이라고 얘기해 주니까 마침 되게 놀라더라고요. 그래서 그런 또 한국 영화 역사 이렇게 긴 줄 몰랐었다. 그래서 사실 뭐 아까 아키라 구로사와 얘기도 했지만 일본이나 중국에 비해서 한국 영화가 좀 늦게 세계에 알려졌죠. 근데 예.
So personally, and for Korean cinema, it was a huge honor. After the award, I talked to the jury members to Iñárritu over cocktails, and when I told them that coincidentally this marks the 100th anniversary of Korean cinema, they were all very surprised to discover that Korean cinema has such a long history. Because relative to Japan and China, Korean cinema was introduced to the international audience pretty later on.
이 영화도 되게 크게 영감받은 한국의 클래식 영화가 있는데요. 김기영 김기영 감독님의 그 하녀 하우스메이드라는 영화를 한번 보시기를 추천합니다. 거기도 보면 이제 계단이 영화에 많이 나오고요. 1층과 2층. 네.
So a huge inspiration for Parasite was a Korean classical film called The Housemaid by Kim Gi-young, and I really recommend that you all watch this film. That also features a lot of staircases and a two-story house.
The movie already released by Criterion DVD, so you can find it.
Well, I cannot express my deep gratitude for you to be here. I love this film, and I love everything you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. 감사합니다.